So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again, yet another week, yet another time, and here today with me is Anup yet again.
Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're fine.
I hope so as well to the four listeners. Um and yeah, we are back again. Thankfully, we are writing still, and we still have something to show today, don't we, Anup?
Of course, definitely.
Yeah, we have been making some progress with our stories. It's a snail's pace, but still it's moving, right? That's what the story between the tortoise and the hare has taught me is that you have to keep moving, and then you eventually maybe reach the final stage. And we are moving like turtles, but you know what they say: if you're a turtle, then there is a good chance that you might be a ninja turtle. So there is a lot of scope here for us. So on a what have you cooked up this time?
um, so basically, the boys were in the forest, right? Then they climbed up a hill, and then they saw some strange stuff like in the other side of the hill, and those were like kind of statues, but they were not moving, right? Like they looked like human beings, but like yeah, it was really peculiar. So let me read the last two sentences, and then like let me continue with this week's part.
Yeah, I just want to say the last time you really left us in a cliffhanger. Anup has been cooking something really amazing here. I strongly recommend everybody to listen back to the parts from previous weeks to catch up. It has been a great read for us so far. So Anup, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, wow, look at that, said Sam. Tommy stopped worrying for a while. It seems that the green scenery relaxed him. Then Ralph started noticing something peculiar. There were some weird black shapes lying under the trees, some in masses and some lonelier. Some looked like they were standing and some like they were sitting. The weirdest thing was they were just standing still without any movements. He regretted that he didn't brought his binoculars with him. What are those black things? Said Martin. They suddenly heard a loud bang nearby. Now the bang sound got more frequent. Then they suddenly saw a man running towards them. He was bleeding and sweating a lot. He looked scared. Behind them they saw multiple armed people shooting him. He climbed the mountain with all his remaining strength. Help! Shouted the man. Run! Shouted Sam. The boys started running on the other side again, as fast as they could. They still heard the bang sound behind them. The boys noticed that the armed people were approaching closer to them. Martin said, Hide! We cannot outrun grown adults. If they get us, they are going to kill us. Tommy started crying. Martin slapped him. Shut up, you are going to kill us. The boys came down the hill and climbed two trees. Ralph and Sam got on one, and Martin to the other one. Tommy was struggling to get on the tree. Martin helped him with all his strength to get on the tree. They were breathing loud. Suddenly they saw the man. He wore an orange jumpsuit and was running towards them. After a minute or two, they also saw the armed people. Ralph noticed that they were wearing the same outfit as their father. The guards, whispered Sam to Ralph. Ralph didn't answer him. He was looking downward, as they, it seemed, and it seemed they finally got the person. He heard a final loud bang, and then nothing. The armed men slowly climbed the hill again. This was close, said one of them. Hey, you aren't supposed to talk in front of them, said the other one. It's dead anyway, said the other one. Ralph now noticed that they were indeed the guards. Three of them wore the outfit that his father wore, maybe 4 years ago. One of them wore the outfit that his father also wore now. Two of them were dragging the lifeless body. Did you guys also see something on the top of the hill? Asked the guard. No, said the other one. We have to talk about this incident once we reach the office again, said the uniformed guard. How could you let one of them escape? It was John's call to use the fire, said one of them. The uniformed officer looked then at the other guard. I just wanted to process it quicker, said that guard. You know what awaits you, don't you? Replied the uniformed guard again. After a while, the boys decided to jump down. They were pale. Martin was furious. Tommy had red cheeks and was pale and looked cold. It seems Martin slapped him more. He was about to cry in front of them, said Martin. It seemed Tommy vomited and also fainted. They were silent as they climbed the hill down. They saw the spot where the inmate was killed. The redness of the blood made the red forest even more red. Tommy fainted again. The boys carried him. As they came to their bikes, it was already late. Tommy came back to his senses again. I hate you guys, he said. They looked at him and said nothing. They got up on their bike and went home. So this was it for this week's series.
I have to say, it sounded like Kids Next Door vibes, right? Old men versus kids. But yeah, I can only imagine what kind of effect it's going to have in this kid's mind. Oh, we're getting really gloomy out here, let's just say.
Oh, it was a gloomy story from the begin with, right?
The whole concept of Thrash, it's crazy. But I have to say, it's quite fascinating. At least I like this part of the kid's adventure rather than the drudgery of the prison, right? And yeah, I'm sure our listeners have also quite loved it so far.
Now it's your turn, Shiraz. What do you have this week?
So, I've been trying to write about this science fiction world where people travel around the space, and this is basically the story about people who have reached to a planet where they were planning to go because they believe there is life, and our protagonists have landed there. And much of it has been exposition of how the background is, how they ended up with this idea, what was the rationale behind everything. So yeah, our listeners can go back to those few episodes and then read it out loud. The last time I spoke, I would go through the last paragraph. It was basically about how our main characters saw it back in his days, and how he started doing this space travel thing, and then I bring it back to the present time where our main character has crash landed into the planet they had planned to be, and then he has met a friend, at least a companion named Delepid, and then he's basically exploring this new strange world that he has seen. So, in the reverie of my thought, I forgot to notice that the rain had stopped and the sky was covered in a hue of crimson. The post-rain clarity felt amazing, even though the air now felt much more pungent. I had to take cover my nose with my t-shirt and took a look around. Delepid was standing beside me, simply staring into the space. I saw that most of his features were unreadable. I couldn't figure out if he was deep in thought or simply staring into the skyline to find for something. I tried to match the direction he was looking and saw something flying in the distance. It was moving towards us. This covered me in dread and I got a bit nervous. Was it my reaction or my aura? Delepid looked at me and gave me a reassuring gesture to stay calm. "A friend from far. He comes with news," Sprache translated for me. As we waited for the strange messenger to arrive, I tried to take a stock of my location. It felt like I was at some height. There were some mountains at the distance that I could see. Behind me was a wall of rock and stones. Above me, the ceiling of the cave. In front of me, I could see land. There were strange trees the shape of lampposts in front of me. They had silver stem and shiny blue cotton-like top. They looked like very thin man with an afro on top. The afro was unaffected by the rain. Then there were some colorful shards-like objects shooting on those plants. These plants seemed to have a shiny coating. There were also other smaller shrubs growing in the shadow of these plants. From afar, they looked like cylinders, tendrils growing up towards the afro strings. There were smaller plants that covered the grounds. There were no plants in the radius of 5 meter of the cave. I use the term plants in the loosest sense that we use as earthlings. However, whatever they were is simply an unsolved question yet. Other than us, I could not see any other animal. I could sense the branches of the trees and shrubs vibrate even at absence of the wind. However, I could not make it out if it was due to a phantom animal or these plants themselves were animals like coelenterets. While the air was very pungent, I could finally feel myself getting used to the smell. The smell of the world was very different to the world I knew. The colors were completely different and my body felt completely different as well. Had I not been rudely awakened from my slumber due to the crash, I could very well call it a dream. I had to find an idea to reorient myself and plan my future ideas. The key goal was to stick to the mission. However, I should also let curiosity guide me, as simply making it all goal oriented would not be good for my health. I could feel pangs of nostalgia and loneliness. My eyes will tear up, and suddenly the sensation of panic would take over me. However, I felt negative emotions. However, when I felt negative emotions, I would do the breathing exercises that I had learned at the academy and reorient my mind. Life, after all, is meant to be lived in its singularity and not necessarily always be subject of your surrounding. After a while, the flying being came closer to us, and I could see the marvelous eagle get larger in front of my eyes. There was a distinct sense of majesty about this bird. Its size was similar to that of a horse, with the wingspan almost covering the sky when it was close. The shadow it cast created a sense of mystery. The bird landed with a gust and brushed everything around it. This explained the empty space near the cave. Delepid made some sign and the bird nodded. The lustrous skin it emanated, but the massive silhouette it cast gave me a sense of dread and admiration at the same time. My world felt so small in front of the giant. Delepid looked into me and pointed to a Sprache. I thought he wanted me to connect with the bird. However, the bird was mostly mute. I need sounds to understand the language, I told him. You not feel the energy? Delepid told me. No, I do not. Delepid shrugged me. However, I learned that the animals in this world could communicate in some or other ways than the sound. How fascinating. Do you speak with your companion? Why is he here? Yes, he take us home. He say you look new. What do I do now? He grabbed my stuffs and with one sweep grabbed me by his arms as well and jumped over the back of the eagle. I didn't imagine Delepid to be that strong. His arms were as soft as a jelly, like how I had imagined. However, he seemed to possess unreal power. I wonder what constitutes his skeleton. I landed on the neck of the bird and with slippery scales made me grab onto his feather. I also held tight to my stuffs. Delepid grabbed onto the bird beside me. After a few seconds, the bird flapped its gigantic wings and took off. God knows to where, but it was not a comfortable takeoff as I had to use all my might to not fall off before the turbulent flight. In no time, we were in a cruising altitude. Out of the shade of the trees and the cave, the stars were blinding me wherever I looked. It was best to either look down or into the wing of the bird. The bird itself smelled very bad, almost like something drenched in acid. In between the putrid scent and the motion sickness due to the flight, I almost passed out. However, if not for my discomfort, the view below me was surreal. The land was covered in patches of color everywhere. The terrain of red, blue, red, and yellow looked like a kindergartner's art project, only they were assembled by nature. I could make out patches of liquid that looked very much like water. The crimson sky reflected onto them to give them bloody colors. They looked more like pond of bloods rather than the lakes and the ponds.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so a lot of plants and a lot of birds. But yeah, it was quite trying to create some picture. A feeble attempt at least, but yeah.
No, it was great. Like, I liked the bird and also that Delepid is strong somehow, right?
Yeah.
No, but also the tree, right? Like you said, like afro like blue hair, like blue leaves kind of trees, right? So I'm trying to imagine it, kind of.
Yeah, I'm thinking of creating more color into it, or maybe more words into it, making it more precise, because I feel right now, normally what I write is in one sitting. I guess that's also what you do. You don't really edit it, right? And so when I'm going to do edit, I'm thinking of making it more concise in my explanation, but also more vivid. So I'm thinking of adding flowers or maybe stuff like that. So in the essence is going to remain the same. Probably the explanation is going to be different. And I think that's going to be quite a big part of what I'm going to end up with. And yeah, I didn't want to spend so much time in exposition of our main character when he has this massive world to explore. However, I thought for some time, and I was imagining before we take over any new challenge, right? We always have this sense of dread, and there's this the when the adrenaline drops off, and then you suddenly realize the stock of your situation, you're always in this sense of uncertainty, probably nostalgia, regret even. And I just wanted to capture that with our character, because he has had some time to settle down, get his nerves, and make stock of the situation. So kind of like that. And yeah, I feel like in some sense I'm drawing from my own experiences of moving to a new place. So it's a different experience for me. So yeah, I don't know, probably the listeners who have listened from start know how lost I was towards the beginning, right? It just started to scatter my ideas, but now it's forming some kind of shape in it. So I hope I can continue, make some sense out of the story, but something that's entertaining to people to read. But yeah, I still feel it's the second best compared to yours. There's so much intrigue going on in your story, but still, I mean, it really puts you into perspective how difficult it is to write. At least to write something to satisfy yourself, let alone satisfy somebody else.
Definitely. It also always is the case that I want to put something interesting in one chapter, right? But I think if I do this frequently, then the story itself starts getting not so interesting anymore, right? Because the audience now kind of always expects it, that out of ordinary, so I'm also thinking about that lately, how I can incorporate some numbness, some monotony in the story again, right?
But that's the fun of it, I would imagine. It's been quite fascinating to write, it's more fascinating than reading. We have to give a bit more time to fix things up, but maybe if we can work on a schedule, at least for myself, when I can work on a schedule, then it's going to be quite fascinating. I imagine we come up with something that the most important thing is we come out with something that we are happy with, right? It doesn't need to be perfect, but it's something that you would say, okay, I wrote it. I did a decent job. So yeah, that's it for now. Do you want to add something?
No, I'm done.
Yeah, that was it for now. Yet again, we have Anup here again. We could have done this live. It just came to my mind so late. But yeah, maybe next time we can try doing it live.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Then thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us, to our 4 regular listeners. And thank you very much, Anup, for continuing these adventures. Our goal is to finish before the end of the month. End of the year. Hopefully, we will be able to make big progress and can continue this. Maybe make it like volume 2. Next year. End up with a cliffhanger, and then we do this again next year with another story, volume 2 of both the stories. Right?
Sounds good.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice time.